So how many of you are familiar with Rahab, that harlot, that whore in the Bible, in the Old Testament? See, God had his people who were in the land of the wilderness, who had came out of Egypt, once being in slavery by old Pharaoh, and he had promised them that they reached the promised land. And part of that land was Jericho, the land of Canaan. So Joshua, who was in charge at the time, he sent 2 spies to Jericho. And on their way there, they ran into a whore named Rahab. And as the city officials came looking for those spies, as they had heard that they were in the land, no telling what they would have done to them, probably nothing short of killing them, or at least capturing them. But those were God's spies, because those were God's people who had promised that land. Long story short, Rahab allowed them to hide on her roof, and she covered them. She protected them in that sense. And she actually went out there and lied to the officials. Not only did she tell them that they wasn't there, she said they did come and they went that way and you need to get after them. So she misled them, she deceived them and everything else. This is what a hoe, what we would call today a thought. This is what she did for God's people. Whoever thought that God had used a hoe? Whoever thought that a hoe would be solid, would be official, would hold water? See, a lot of times we judge people because they're different from us. It could very well be a white person, or a black person, or a gay person, or a lesbian. It could very well be someone from another ethnicity, religion. It could very well be someone with a handicap, or someone who in your own mind is not as good as you for one reason or the other. And so we judge them. But how you know that God didn't put that person in your path? How you know that through that person is where you're going to get your blessing or your breakthrough, or at the least be protected? See, if the spies would have said, we God people, we shouldn't be talking to no whore. She ain't living right. And she don't need to go out there and lie to us, because, you got some religious people like that. Oh, nah, you're an ex-convict. Oh, nah, you did this in your past, that in your past. And you said you gonna go lie to them and tell them we went that way? No, that can't be God, because God don't work like that. He don't work in no lies. Too many people, and not only people, but so-called religious people, whatever religious sect you may be from, judge you more than anybody else. But it seems that they forget that famous passage in at least one of the holy books called the Bible. That passage that says, and it was Jesus himself that said it, he without sin cast the first stone. Anybody who went to reach for a rock, they hard had to get the shakes and got paralyzed. Just because you're sin different, or just because you sin different, doesn't give you a right to point the finger at nobody else and judge them because of where they've been. Holding people past over their head. Holding where people are in their life right now over their head. People who may be struggling. One thing about it, no matter how popular your sin may be, and no matter how unpopular the next person's sin may be, at the end of the day, it's all sin. And I never understood how anybody could put it sin on a scale. Now, man may do it. Of course, you get more time, and it's more looked shameful upon when it comes to like murder and things of that nature, opposed to the lie that a person may tell. We understand that. That's a man-made law, and it is to be respected. It's the law of the land. But when we talk about spiritual things, when we talking about judgment that only God himself has the right to deal with when it's all said and done. So man may judge you on this side, but at the end of the day, it's going to be between you and God. So that same whore, that thought, a lot of times that's what you talking about. That thought, this, that, and the other. And I'm not saying, don't start telling me and commenting that I'm promoting prostitution or saying that it's okay to be a thought or a whore. I'm making a point, a very good point, a point that we need to take a real look at, because, again, give me the person who's living in a way that may not be so morally accepted, but they ain't hiding who they are. They walking in that. She was Rahab the harlot. When they came, she didn't say, oh yeah, my name is Rahab, and you know, I'm the worker over there in the field, or you know, I sell vegetables for a living, you know, I knit blankets. She knew who she was at that time in her occupation. And she didn't hide it. See, a lot of time what we do, we put people in positions to lie about who they are, because they know we're going to judge them if they tell us who they really are at that time. And when I say at that time, what I mean is that Rahab was not a whore. She was a child of God. She's a human being, a creation. So I'm talking about the occupation and how she was describing herself in the way that she was living at that time. But sometimes we force people, so to speak, to act like they're one thing and proclaim to be one thing where they are another. You know, you get it. Some dudes, man, let's go commit this crime. Let's go take on this and let's go take on that. And main man over here scared as he mother. And he ain't never done nothing like this in his life. But we've already set the stage that ain't nobody backing out, because if you do, that means you scared, you weak, you're a sucker, you're a punk, you ain't got no heart, whatever the case may be. And so that person goes along, commits the crime. At the end of the day, the feds get involved, and who gonna be on the other side? Who gonna be on that stand pointing the finger? It won't be Rahab the harlot, because she let you know who she was from the beginning, and she was actually solid. She wasn't faking. Look beyond a person's shortcoming. And think about the fact that you've had yours, and you may have something coming up if you're not already living in something. Accept people for who they are at the time and try to see the good in them. You never know who is going to be through that your blessing, that your covering, that your protection, that your breakthrough might come. In some very, very powerful way, God have allowed us to have something so great that when it's all said and done, His grace and His mercy outweighs the sin. We have to break the cycle.